My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome back to Handbook for the New Paradigm, Volume 1. We are beginning here with session number 32. And if you're following along in the book with me, we are on page 109. So when the time arrives for what, please read, and I would like to everyone to keep in mind, this material was channeled, I don't know, it could be prior to 2018, but it was published in 2018. And I'm remarking on my nudge to begin recording it when I did, and what I'm being shown with my own guidance through this entire process. So I'm actually being urged to say here, maybe this will need to be a separate thing, I don't know. I'm being urged to say here, these are puzzle pieces for me. This is how my process works. It may not be the same for everyone else. When I am drawn to material, there's something there for me to, okay, investigate, absorb. I'm revealing something to myself in a fashion that intrigues me, right? And I move toward it, and okay, because I seek it, it also seeks me, right? The truth of who I am is what I guess I'm speaking on here. And so through different things in my life, I've noticed my path, and this is no different. This entire, you've probably seen this. So all of this is for me a method of revealing, and I wish to just remain open and not prejudge what I'm hearing based on my experiential filter, as I know I have a proclivity to do. So when I catch myself, which in certain times of reading this, even I I find myself having an opinion about what I'm reading, and even that opinion in that observation can color the energy of it, is what I'm being shown. So I'm not quite clear why that needed to come out right there, but there you have it. Apparently I needed to hear myself say that. So we are on session number 32, and it is when the time arrives for what could be termed the crash of all your systems of communications, utilities, and supplies. There will be turmoil and confusion of massive proportions. It behooves you, who are well aware of this possibility, to survey your personal situations and to make contingency plans. It is amazing to us that this information is known, but each assumes that it will happen around them, but not to them. And I must pause here to say that I have felt that as well. However, I also feel not to be in resistance to what comes, and to just know that all will happen as it's meant to, and that all will be well, because that too is a matter of my focus and attention. So that's why I talk about these as being puzzle pieces and being open to all it has to be revealed to me, and not to prejudge it. You are aware of the existence of various mechanisms that would provide at least minimum replacements for your utility needs. Even coordinated systems are available. The project will not make the shift in consciousness before this breakdown of current lifestyle. There will be a period of chaos. How long that will last depends on the completion of phase 2 and 3, the conception of the new paradigm, and then the spread of it through the conscious awareness of your brethren. Okay, and I want to pause here because I'm being shown something very important. Remember, this was published in 2018. For me, I feel that this has been taking place. Phase 2 and 3, I don't know from phases, but this part about the conception of the new paradigm and then the spread of it through the conscious awareness of your brethren. Just had a conversation with a loved one where they were noticing that there was a wave of energy that crossed the planet that they felt that they had been caught up in, and was actually questioning that for themselves. And I said, well, of course. Why, of course that's possible. I mean, it is an electromagnetic thing. Motion, energy in motion. It has there's vibratory evidence of this. There's science behind this, right? So and this being written in 2018, and we are now in 2023. Wow, I was trying to put us in 2024. Almost, though. Perhaps most of you will see this in 2024. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Oh. There are things in the consciousness of our brethren that we are not even aware that we are aware of. And I'll show you that too. In that earlier conversation, there was a statement that I made that turned out was exactly the right thing to say had I known that something else had taken place. This part of me didn't know, but that part of me apparently did. And I cannot unsee that connection in terms of what this is showing me right here too. As you can deduce for yourselves, communications are relatively easy before the breakdown and difficult at best after it. It is critical that you truly realize and begin preparing for this advancing menace with as much focus and dispatch as possible. And two, with the development of all of the things that are available to project and thereby manipulate and direct data, information. That's why getting in here and becoming trusting of self is imperative. Absolutely imperative. Specifically, if sovereignty is the frequency of choice. And it is for me, at any rate. We are long past the quote, I can't hardly wait for it, but I just don't have time to prepare for it just yet syndrome. It is necessary for you to look carefully at your priorities and to remember that you have made commitments that involve the survival and transcendence of as many of your willing brethren as possible. This does mean that they have to be occupying their bodies for this to be successful. This is indeed a heavy responsibility, but we again remind you that all possible help is available if you but ask and, quote, move your feet. It would appear that it is necessary to also remind you that the discussions of phase 2 must be conducted in places that are not likely to contain listening wires. Okay, see, I personally feel like, again, that's probably time past. Truthfully, all is transparent and all serves. So again, keep in mind, this was 2018. And it comes through perception filters always as it's coming through mine. It is suggested that you view the movie called, oh my God, God, enemy of the state. No, y'all are not going to believe this. Lisa and I follow a young man on YouTube, and he just casually shared with his audience that he was going to watch Enemy of the State just recently. And I had a little ping when he said that. And I looked at her and I said, yeah, he's connected in ways he doesn't even know he's connected. And here we have it today. I'm sorry. I cannot unsee that on any level of me. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to read this sentence again. Oh my gosh. Can you see why I love this quest I'm on? Holy crap. It is suggested that you view the movie called Enemy of the State and listen carefully when the character Brill describes the capabilities of the electronics. He goes through the list at top speed, and so you must be listening carefully. It was also given on TV when the filming process of the movie was reviewed. Brill in the movie reminds the hero that the capabilities he is listing were available many years previously. However, the capability to apply them in a massive manner was not possible until recently. But the added sophistications since exceed what is demonstrated in the movie. Well, of course, and this is 2018 we're speaking on, and I believe that this is actually referring to you, AI, which like I've said before, I welcome you here. You will be learning along with me, right? All of you are being observed, which is true, and when you gather, you can be sure your discussions are of interest. And now we get to the reason why this is my third YouTube channel, even though I never ever even got over 2,000 subscribers on the first one. Never got over 500. No, I think I never got over 600 on the second one. And they took that off actually rather quickly compared to the first one. I wonder how long this one will last. We'll see. We would prefer that this project continue unnoticed for as long as possible. If this sounds melodramatic, so be it. Ask for discernment and then view the movie and you will understand. Now, and again, this is 2018, so I know that there have been things going on that I'm not privy to. As I said before, I know, and these are also things that happen in another realm with parts of me that are there, and I know that now, and I claim that now. And I also will know exactly hear what I need to know in the moment I need to know it. Apparently, I cannot unsee that either after just this morning. As our arrogant planners flaunt their methodology before your eyes, assuming that sleeping minds have little discernment between programming and entertainment, there is no reason we cannot use this information to our advantage. When you ask for discernment within our purposes, the ability to interpret and to envision all ways of applying the laws given you will provide avenues avoiding their entrapment techniques. As all-encompassing as they appear, they are inventions of opposite focus and thus contain the elements of self-destruction. Just as divine purpose contains within it the impulse for self-expansion, the opposite contains the tendencies of self-destruction. I want to pause there for a moment. That is the two differences of perspectives that I'm seeing on the planet, right? Honestly, look at that, energetic. We have the impulse for self expansion, and we have the opposite, contains the tendencies of self destruction. And we see it everywhere, and everybody gets to choose it. At this point, I feel like most choices have already been made. When the negative polarity is expanded, then its innate tendencies are magnified, just as the opposite is true within the positive polarity. It is within the path between the two that the spiral of evolution exists. It is important to note here that the meaning of the word evolution has been purposefully distorted by implanting the idea that evolution and adaptation are synonymous. And the reason I'm smiling here is because I just got through telling that family member that that is what's happening on this planet is humanity's evolution. We are being asked to step up our consciousness and know who we are, and the choice is ours. Nobody's going to drag you up into the light where you belong. Nobody but you, because it's a choice. It is a choice. And this is an evolutionary jump. And I can see why they did that. I'm going to read it again. It is important to note here that the meaning of the word, quote, evolution has been purposefully distorted by implanting the idea that evolution and adaptation are synonymous. Animal life and even human life at one level adapts. Evolution refers to the spiral of spiritual life. Spiritual experience through, and think holographically here, its return trip to source. Here you can see correlation of spiral to spirit and holographic to holy. When the appropriate moments arrive, you will have the discernment to bring forward into your conscious awareness that prickly feeling that causes you to move to a more appropriate place, and it will be available. Planning ahead does not work. It is necessary to be flexible and move in the moment. I cannot agree more. This is why we haven't moved anywhere. That's why we're still in this place fully 7 years later, because it hasn't, the way hasn't been shown. And so it is spontaneity that provides the atmosphere in which creation moves without restriction. Since creation is what you are about, then it is important to move within the framework of purpose as spontaneously as possible. I have felt all along that creation, God, the all that is nature itself, and has actually all on its own no consciousness. It is the conscious experience of that as a whole that filters itself out for experience. That's why all is love, because it's all experience. Back to the book here. Though this would seem that opposites are at counterpoints, indeed, this is combining the polarities in a complementary fashion, allowing for the spiraling effect that is desired for movement in a balanced fashion. Polarities are not limited to extreme opposites, as in black and white, on and off, good and bad, etc. Pink and gray are opposites, but of a different intensity. These intensities are available in abundance to apply, and through this principle, diversity within a focus is accomplished. How does this apply to the project at hand? It is through the diverse contributions toward the goal of completing phase 2 that the appropriate composite will come forth. Each session will be a think tank of spiraling ideas toward the goal, fueled by combining the individual minds into an empowered group focus. It is the addition of the group focus that is the increased power of the creative presence. Because the creator is not a personal presence at the third dimensional level, he literally cannot be present. But the combination of focus provided by the shared common goal brings forth a greater power. And I want to stop here and say, where one or more are gathered, there I am also. Back to the book. I'm going to just say that again. Because the creator is not a personal presence at the third dimensional level, he literally cannot be present. But the combination of focus provided by the shared common goal brings forth a greater power, particularly when numerical combinations are observed. The common language of creation is mathematical formulation. The practice of numerology touches upon how these formulations apply to individual lives. Spontaneity is allowing the conscious awareness to relax and for harmony with these foundations of existence to bring forth desired results within the framework of defined purpose. The purpose of these think tank sessions provides the framework to bring forth a greater purpose that in turn will be the framework for the new paradigm. Holy crap. That is what Lisa and I have been doing here in this household, and what we've engaged in for the last 7 years with the conscious conversations at every turn. I mean, what I was doing, the 1,500 videos on my first channel were all about consciousness, right? That is indeed a part of what we were doing without realizing we were doing it. I'm going to read that again because I got to mark this to show her. I knew that I was taking place in things that were happening outside this realm. I don't bring back information because I'm not supposed to, and I have accepted that now, because first of all, it's not required for me to have it in this realm. As a matter of fact, I think I kept it at bay on purpose to show myself just how connected we all are to each other, not just myself to myself. But what just happened earlier in a conversation with a loved one shows me the connection that we have without even knowing how connected we are to each other. You have to be paying real close attention to catch those connections. And I'm so glad that that family member caught that and brought it to my attention, because that was huge. So I'm going to say this again. The purpose of these think tank sessions provides the framework to bring forth a greater purpose that in turn will be the framework for the new paradigm. It will be the framework to provide for individuals to continue to process within their own experience. That's really what we've been doing here, processing the truth of who we are, showing, revealing. Oh, we're on page 111. I'm just seeing that's really cool. This may seem simple enough. However, it is in the understanding and follow through of the steps within the universal laws that is the trick. Allowance is the most difficult to incorporate. Rising above the need to control is the leavening of the loaf, so to speak. Volumes could be written regarding this, but it would change it. Oh, wait a minute, but it would not change anything. It is in the doing that it is accomplished. It is the doing of this one facet that opens the door to the transcendence of this dimension. The ability to apply this principle is built upon the use of the previous two, and through application of all three, that the fourth is reached, and bingo, you are there at the point of choice. Okay, I apparently went somewhere else. I have to reread that. Volumes could be written regarding this, but it would not change anything. It is in the doing that it is accomplished. It is the doing of this one facet that opens the door to the transcendence of this dimension. The ability to apply this principle is built upon the use of the previous two, and through application of all three, that the fourth is reached. And bingo, you are there at the point of choice to go or not go. Oh my God. We were talking about exit points. Oh my gosh. Lisa just said yesterday to be or not to be. Holy crap. Everything is coming up. I can't unsee these synchronicities as I'm recording these. I cannot unsee this. Oh, and just for posterity, it's 12:21 on 8/26 is Saturday. I don't know if I said that before or not. To go or not to go. Graduation requires the release of attachments. Then not. Wait a minute. Graduation requires the release of attachments than not now. I don't know what that is. That does not make any sense. Okay, see, my eyes are crossing. Graduation requires the release of attachments. I don't know why that says then, not now, because that is exactly what it says. Just as you have been misled regarding your ego, so you have been misled regarding, so have you been misled regarding your attachments. There is a difference between attachment and addiction. That is for you to discern, and now is the time to release the addictions. You must ask yourself what it is that you think must remain in your experience. And what I don't know if y'all can hear that, but all the dings are telling me that this is something to pay very close attention to for me. You must ask yourself what it is that you think what it is that you think must remain in your experience, and what it would be pleasant to have, but not absolutely necessary. You will be surprised if you take a few moments to make even a brief list of your technological wonders and contemplate what life will be like without them. You will then be prepared for your not so distant future. This is not to say that to plan to provide for the basic necessities is addiction rather than wisdom. Here again, ask for discernment. Everything. I will say that to you. Everything has to be run through your own experiential filter and what you feel is right for you. No one has the right, actually, on any sort of level, to dictate anything to any one of us. Back to the book. We remind you that it is our concern for all that motivates us to share as much guidance as possible. For this project is of critical importance. The creator is non-preferential in the desire to retain every fragment. We, however, value our ground team greatly. Friendship is a wondrous part of the shared experience of self-aware manifested fragments. You don't remember us, but we remember you. And I got to tell you, I have had that feeling where I know I've experienced fractals that are existing in other realms that are me and yet their own beings. I didn't understand that's what I was experiencing at first, but that is, I've come to feel at this juncture, my current feeling is that is what I was experiencing. I'm still open to finding out that that's not the case, but that's what it feels like. So I'm going to jump right now to number 33, session number 33 on page 112. The days are not now upon us for gathering the focus that will bring about the transformation of the mass consciousness. It will be an interesting process of interlinking various consciously begun projects at different places on the planet. There are more than one ground crew with purposeful assignments. While it is natural to feel that what one person or one group is attempting is too little, too late, this is not the case. All are in place or nearly enough so that the concerted beginning can be initiated. It is necessary that the resolve, intent, and purpose be held squarely within the scope of each of you, as the days ahead may seem discouraging. You must hold to your commitment with a calm and trust that does not waver. This experience is a manifested reality that must be dealt with inside that reality. The game must be continued on until completion. It can no longer be changed or delayed. Humanity is sinking into greater fear and confusion, furthering the plans of the manipulators at a rapid pace. Personally, at this point, because this is, again, 2018 is when this is published, I don't feel that way. My experiential filter, although what appears out there is horrific in many ways, I also don't believe all of that is taking place on any sort of level. I've seen too much. I feel too much. I know too much. Yes, there are waves of those who see that and they're lost in that, and that is the perspective they're choosing, and I have to respect their sovereign authority and allow that for them and hold open A, the door, and B, shine my light to say, but you can choose at any moment to step over here and see it from a different perspective. Even try it out. To say, oh, that's woo-woo, without even trying to exercise your power, even to inquire if what is being said here is true, that sounds like a choice that you have every right to make. But you might want to ask yourself a couple of questions about that choice. Like ask yourself, just in a quiet moment, is there something to that? Because what if there is? and you're throwing that power away to fear. And so back to the book here. The spiritual levels of each are becoming more and more inaccessible, and the reaction of the spirit expressing through the body to this process will continue to reflect through the reaction of the planet also. It is not a pretty picture from our perspective. It is not our intent to focus your attention into this picture. But it is also necessary that you are aware of what you are working within. It is unfortunate that it has had to proceed this far into the levels of suffering before the consciousness becomes vulnerable and desperate enough to pause and reflect that enough is enough. Now, see, for me, that's a personal filter, experiential filter coming through there. Perhaps now enough can be reached with the desire to bring this situation to an end, to be willing to accomplish it through a total change of ingrained habitual reactions. I feel like that has happened on every level, and it's just that where there was an assumption that I see where people are connected and they're doing a thing without even knowing they're doing a thing. I'm sorry, I see this everywhere I look. I see the connection that doesn't appear as connection to that being on any sort of level. They don't think they're connected. They don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it nonetheless. This is I'm witnessing this. It feels like that to me. So I feel as though the concept of the new paradigm actually has anchored in, and we are moving. We are already solidly in this, and that's interesting. This is the locking mechanism has been what has been called, quote, the opium of religion. The religious doctrine of, quote, ours is the only way and all else is wrong, has literally created cells within a dungeon of ignorance with every modern religious sect present and accounted for. This is not to say that some truth is not present within them, but there is not enough either within anyone or even a composite of the truth within all of them now to guide mankind in anything but unending circles of frustration. The innate desire is always within each to progress toward the goal of transcending this entrapment. And I wanted to do this, but it's not in the book. Within third dimension. And now religion offers no way to continue the journey. The aspiration of each soul extension as it incarnates to earth is to assist in bringing this situation back into balance. Each desires to become, and that's in italics, part of the pivotal pebble in the pond, but instead are caught in the entrapment of the heavy, oppressive patterns of energy and become part of the chorus calling out for assistance. The assistance cannot come from without. It must come from within, through self-empowerment, not for the purpose of placing the self over and above others, but in the genuine desire to inspire others to follow suit. In this way, these individuals come into harmony with the creative flow and with the focused conscious desire of those who are dedicated to this purpose, that have accomplished this transcendence before. Unfortunately, the situation has reached such a sad state that dedicated ones of higher dimensions have now volunteered to incarnate and act on behalf of the inhabitants and set into motion a wave of self-empowerment on the planet. I am one of these individuals. My voice carries a fractal of the Archangel Gabriel. I am aware of this. I feel it as it's coursing through my body as I speak right now. These volunteers are numerous. They are. And await the triggers planted within their awareness to remember their roles. The time has come for this to begin. Oh my God, I got chills when I said that. Now is the time for these self-appointed ones to lead mankind from being into becoming what was intended. Human being is a misnomer. Each is a human becoming. Well, isn't that interesting? Knowing this and referring to themselves in this way, each would be constantly focused upon the true purpose of incarnation. This is true. Very true. I like that. Then the internal cry that those on the planet and the planet herself in this moment of time would become, I am a human, and in parentheses, God, man, becoming. Help me to do this. Oh my, isn't that interesting? Then response is possible. It changes the focus from I am a victim, help me, which implies help me to continue being a victim, to a focus of desire for self-empowerment. After centuries of calling for someone or some ritual or miracle to accomplish the impossible, man has been unable to figure out that it must come from within his own awareness and the empowering of himself so that it can be accomplished. Instead, the self-empowerment urge was distorted into self-aggrandizement, and the result is seen all around you. I like that. That's true. The shift of your own consciousness toward your desire for this end has brought forth your ability to attract these messages. As the wake up triggers are tripped, the ripples of the pebble shall become waves. When the action shall begin, and many levels of links shall form, and wheels shall begin to turn. A beleaguered mass consciousness shall experience a shift, as will the planet. This will not be the shift, but will be the beginning of the necessary upliftment that must precede that process. I need to take a pause here for a moment. Keep in mind the vibratory level of the mass consciousness. No inhabitant of planet Earth could survive a shift to fourth dimension at this time. No amount of meditating and listening to channeled entities has accomplished this feat. It must be a shift in self-perception and focus of the purpose of this incarnation in great numbers to accomplish this. As the flow is downward in vibratory rate into disease and death. To halt this movement and change its direction will require a shift of major proportion. Now I see, boy, oh boy, am I seeing a lot of things here about myself. and why my life had to be what it is. Because it required a shift of major proportion for me to still be here now, already in my right here consciousness, from death to life. Yeah. Wow. The normal vibratory rate of a human body has been determined to be 62 and 68 megahertz. The brain functions optimally between 72 and 90 megahertz. I think that's megahertz, right? MHz. When the body vibration lowers to 58 megahertz, it can, quote, catch a cold. At 57 megahertz, the flu. 55 megahertz, candida. 52, Epstein-Barr. 42, cancer. And 25, death begins. By considering the health problems of your friends and family, you can begin to get a true picture. Wow, that's true. Our interesting negative planners simply lower the megahertz of someone they would like to eliminate through their recently devised methods. Within a short period of time, the body either develops a fatal disease, or if lowered enough, death occurs, and whatever disease already present is the excuse. Allopathic medicine, and that's in italics, and that's in parentheses a misnomer, chemical prescriptions lower the megahertz of the body. Radiation from TV and computer screens lower the megahertz, and consuming processed and canned foods which have 0 megahertz to support the body continue the process. Starvation is the least subtle of the ways to lower the megahertz and bring on the lowering of the mass consciousness before each die. In that way, these make their contributions to this descending cycle. The human body has amazing adaptive abilities, but the onslaught of ways to bring down the vibratory level to tie you to this planet has reached a critical point. The good news is that the shift in focus of purpose by the critical mass within the encompassing planetary consciousness can go beyond removing a few critical dominoes as placed by the interesting planners. It could reverse the way they fall, thereby releasing the lower process and allowing the megahertz of the bodies to increase. Wow. Well, judging what's happened from my point of view, that has taken place. Now, that is an interesting supposition to consider. I have said on not this channel, but other channels before in previous times that had what I expected to occur in 2017, 2018 happen, I would not have been ready. My consciousness was not at the expansive level that it is now. So I see now all the wisdom in everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. None of us are late. Everybody's on time. Everything is going just swimmingly lovely. And I can just relax into myself because thoughts become things that we attract, right? Back to the book here. The picture as it is at the moment, and remember 2018, is beyond discouraging. It is appalling. And there are those who see that out there now and feel the same. And even worse. However, in playing out various scenarios and holographic possibilities, it is not at all hopeless. The keys lie in the cards held by the ground crew, and that is in quotations. How these are played will determine which of the scenarios are available to ensure success. Keep playing. The last game has just begun, and the creator never gambles. He only plays the sure bets. After all, he made up the game and he never forgets the rules. You can rely on that. His turn to shuffle and deal is about to come up. Don't wait for it to happen elsewhere. Be here now. And that's the end of number 33. I'm sorry, but I cannot unsee a lot in this, and I'm going to have to go ahead and release these. I've been only releasing these two at a time, and I've only recorded two today, but I can see right now I have to get this out there. I don't know what else to say. This is too wild for me. The synchronicities that keep happening with this book are too much. I cannot just I've got to let it go. So I hope you're enjoying this reading of Handbook for the New Paradigm. We are now in volume 1. We will begin our next one here on session number 34. And if this resonates with you and you feel to share it with someone you love, just do. I'm not promoting this. I never do that with my channel. It's all about magnetic draw. People will find this when they are ready for this. That's how I feel. This came into my field almost 2 full years ago, and I wasn't nudged to read it. About a year ago, I was nudged to buy it, but I still didn't read it. It wasn't until just recently that it really called out to me. And I get it. I understand now why. This is the exact reason I say at the end of every video, move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself to you. I know you think that's impossible, but I'm telling you, it is the only way forward for me because it is exactly the right way. It's the path of least resistance. It's full on. I don't know what to say about it. I just okay. I just heard it's my own inner acceptance to accept responsibility for all of the way that I feel moving forward, putting no one else ahead of myself and at the expense of no one else either. One does not preclude the other. I wish you all well. Mwah. Till next time, be well, my friends.